Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Ramadan is a time when a lot of people are looking to connect with God, Dr. Shabir. Do you have any advice for how people can make that connection?
Yeah. First of all, it is a good time to be connecting with God. In the verses dealing with fasting in the second chapter of the Quran, starting with verse number 183, going all the way to 187, arguably even 188. But within that span of verses, verse number 186 in particular says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servants ask about me, say, I am near. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِي إِذَا دَعَانِ. I answer the call of the suppliant when they supplicate. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. So let them respond to me and accept me so that they will be rightly guided. So there is a call, like, you know how
it's a reciprocal kind of relationship.
It takes two hands to clap, right? So God is extending a hand here and saying, okay, here I am for you in all of your midst of fasting. In all of these details about what fasting entails and so on, know that I'm there for you and I'm ready to respond to your call. So just make the call.
That's interesting that it's in the midst of all the fasting verses.
That's right. So Ramadan is an excellent time to reconnect with God. You know, in my studies on comparative religion, I'm very familiar with the Christian idea of atonement. So there is the idea there that through the sin of Adam, there came to be a rift between God and man. There was a breach. So there's this kind of a separation, and we need to come back together with God. And the term for that is atonement, and then it's shortened for atonement, right? So becoming at one with God again, atonement. Our Jewish friends have a day called Yom Kippur, which is the day of kafara, if you use an Arabic term, Yom al-Kafara, if you put it that way. So kafara for Muslims is like when you've committed a sin and now you want to obliterate that sin. So you do something in terms of a good deed and repentance and so on to wipe away that sin. So we are encouraged to do that continuously. And of course, our Jewish friends have that specific day on which this is most pronounced, Yom Kippur, Yom Kafara. So that is described in English as the Day of Atonement. So it's the same idea there that, somehow there is that separation between God and man, and we need to bridge that gap. And then with the idea of Jesus dying for, on the cross, that too is said to be the ultimate atonement. Now, suddenly, God has reconciled the world to himself, to use the language from one of the Pauline epistles. So now turning to the Islamic view, the idea of the separation is not such a big idea in the Islamic faith. Yes, if you commit sins, then you are somewhat distanced from God. In fact, the term bod or distancing is said in the Muslim commentaries on the Quran to correspond to la'an, which is literally curse. So when it is said in the Quran that the curse of God is on such a person, on the Satan in particular, then it means that he is distanced from God, and one can understand that as being distanced from the mercy of God. And then on the other hand, when a person is turning back to God, when someone is repentant, the term for that is awda, returning to God, tawbah, returning to God. Again, two different words for returning to God in the Arabic language. They're found in the Quran. So when one is repentant, one is turning back to God. And the Quran promises us that when we turn back to God, God is also turning towards us. So there is this mutuality, this hand clapping going on. And Ramadan is an excellent time to be doing that, returning back to God, to reconnect with God and getting close to God one more time.
And even when you're fasting, right? The Quran explicitly says fasting is prescribed to you to achieve that God consciousness, right?
Exactly.
And then all the other activities that people engage in, reading the Quran, praying, it all draws them closer to God in some way.
Yes. And in fact, just the season itself, just knowing that it is Ramadan, like sometimes, let's say by contrast, Christmas has become so commercialized that when people are thinking of Christmas, maybe they're thinking of Christmas party, maybe they're thinking of gala, maybe they're thinking of dances, and so on. But when people are thinking of Ramadan, they're thinking of things are
Fasting.
changing. Yeah, I mean, things are changing too. Like in the
Yes, it's
Muslim
true.
world, some people are thinking of the new serials that will be on TV and so on. But most Muslims,
Especially in North America, I would say.
Yes.
They care about the worship part.
Exactly, because Ramadan for them is that time when we will turn back to God, we will get closer to God, we'll become more engrossed with reading the Quran, we'll become involved with the night prayers in the mosques in Ramadan, the Taraweeh prayers, and so on. And of course with the fasting and giving charity and doing good things and staying away from all of the haram or prohibited things. So really the whole season itself is that just thinking about it gets a person in the mood to return to God. And when we are returning to God, God is returning to us. According to a hadith, when we walk towards God, He runs towards us.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir, for that beautiful explanation.
You're welcome.
Check it out, everyone, our brand new studio space. It's a work in progress, and it's all thanks to your support and love. This Ramadan, help us raise $100,000. This will help us develop the studio further and buy the equipment we need to develop more programs like this one. Visit our website, muslimmediahub.com.